Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Majority Minority Redistricting Subcommittee on Saturday, August 13th. The meeting is called to order at 9:07 a.m. A roll call. Kashana Owens Cody.
Present.
Constance Graves.
Present.
Larry Walden.
Here.
Donna Bullock. Donna, you're muted.
I'm sorry, I clicked the unmute. I didn't realize it didn't click. Present.
Myself, Marie Allen Campbell, present. Dominic is on vacation and therefore excused from this meeting. Adrian is absent. We also have Naseem Ramdani with us.
Present. Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
And we
Good morning.
also have Jeffrey Weiss and Marissa.
I'm here.
And Marissa Zanvardino.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Arkbridge is not here. I don't remember. They might have told me about a vacation. I'm not sure. I know they have vacations coming up, but I'm not definitively sure about when that was going to start. But I believe that they're excused from this meeting. Donna sent out meeting minutes for August 6th. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at them?
Yes.
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 So I will entertain a motion on the minutes.
I move that we approve the August 6th meeting minutes.
I'll second it. Whatever.
It has been probably moved and seconded that the August 6th meeting minutes be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Minutes are approved. Jeff, do you have anything for the legal discussion or update?
Not any update on Albany County per se. I'll just mention that in the state assembly litigation, papers were filed by the state assembly asking the state Supreme Court judge to order the so-called independent redistricting commission to reconvene to submit a second set of assembly maps to the legislature for consideration. There's a hearing on that in Manhattan on August 19th. That's of no consequence in Albany County.
And the city of Albany is starting their redistricting right now too, right? Or did I not?
Yeah, the city of Albany has a commission. They're going to be holding public hearings, and they have to complete their process by mid to late September. And they'll be meeting, I think, on Thursdays.
Say
And
that
they're
last comment
just
again, Jeff. Jeff, what did you say about Thursdays? You kind of
Oh,
like,
I believe the Albany committee will be meeting on Thursday evenings to do their work.
You said they had to be finished by September when?
The end of September.
It's
They're-
September,
they're-
like September 2022,
Yes, they're in a very short, fast time, time frame.
right? Okay.
Is their redistricting being done by a commission or being done by the city council?
The city council appointed a commission that Sean Morse is chairing. There are about half a dozen members, and they are responsible to submit a plan to the city, to the common council by the end of September.
Oh, okay.
They have a website. If you Google Albany City redistricting,
You're
their
breaking
website
up,
will pop up.
Professor Weiss.
Yeah.
You were
Sorry?
saying something, you were breaking up. You said something
Yeah.
about a website?
Yeah. Hold on one second. Let me get to a better place.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Can you hear me now?
yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. What I was saying was that the Albany Commission has until the end of September to recommend a common council plan to the council for final consideration. So they are on a very fast track.
Now, let me ask a question. The city's redistricting, the city does their redistricting. How many counties are there or whatever within the city? And is our MMD included in the city counts in the cities? Because part of
The city lines and the county lines are done completely, separately. They're different processes. I mean, in essence, every county legislature, common council, city council, town board that elects members from districts has to redraw their lines every 10 years. So I'm not as familiar outside of Albany County and Albany City with other town boards in the county, but if they elect single member or multi-member members to the town boards, then they've also got to redraw their lines. And each local government has its own rules, but they all have to follow, the one person, one vote, 5% rule, and they all have to follow the Federal Voting Rights Act. And then it just depends whether each local government has separate rules beyond that. Like Albany County has separate rules for this commission.
well, I guess I'm still kind of curious because basically our MMD counties are also located within the city. So
Right.
how do those two get separated? I mean, if we
Well,
get a
you're based on different population numbers for each of the districts. So, the county legislative districts are based on 39 districts, of equal population across the county. Whereas for the common council, I think there are 15 council members, and those districts are based on the city population get divided by 15. But
So their districts are not districts, right? Their districts are wards.
wards, well, they call them wards.
Right.
I mean, wards and districts, it's sort of like precincts or election districts. It's just a matter of what the local they're really the same thing, different usages, different titles, but they're really the same thing, whether they're wards, they're precincts, they're districts. and that's just based on historical precedent. But Albany City, I believe, already has a significant number of both Black and I think several, or at least one Hispanic member elected. So the scales are different, and candidates, the lines are different, and the city has not had the same problems that the county has had with lawsuits. I don't think Albany City has ever been sued in court because they have effective minority districts. I think there are 6 common council districts right now that are electing minority preferred candidates. They don't have the levels of polarized voting in the city council as you've had for the county legislature.
Yeah, and I heard it said that they have their most diverse common council leadership in place right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the same as what's going on at the state level has no impact on what we're doing at the county level.
No.
It's the same thing. Every level is different. Federal, county, state, city.
Right. Each one is based on different population requirements for the single member districts. Each one works on different kinds of rules. The county redistricting statewide has the strictest rules because you have to follow the rules in priority order. At the New York State level, they have rules, but they're not prioritized. And for the city level, there are no rules except for the Population Equality and the Voting Rights Act.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Thank you. I have a question, Jeff.
Sure.
You're working on preparing the local law that needs to go to the legislature. Can you?
Well, yeah, the local law essentially is a printout of each district, 1 through 39, and then it includes, let's say District 1 shall include, then it'll say census tracts, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then where there are entire towns, let's say the towns of Cohoes, Manans, so it'll have the whole towns listed, where whole towns are included in a district, and then it will include census tracts or census blocks where towns or villages or hamlets are divided. And that's all the local law really is. It used to be where what's called the meets and bounds would be included. So it'll say Western Avenue westerly to First Street southerly to Jones Street northerly. But because of technology, all that's required now, and what the county attorney has asked for, or the county legislature has asked for, is simply a printout, District 1, the tracts, the blocks, and the whole towns or villages. That's all the local law is. And then the ACRC and this committee are adding a report to it, which really explains out what's inside the plan, the method, the whole operation of the commission.
Okay, thank you. So there was, I don't know if everybody saw it, but there was one additional comment that came in related to Manans that Larry Volk responded to. And his response was essentially thanking the person for their comments and letting them know that the comment period had passed. Donna and I have been working on editing the report, which I thought by now we would be done, but is taking longer than I anticipated. Right now, I am working on the community engagement section and trying to pull together summaries for all of the events that we held or the events that we attended. Essentially flowing from the format that Kashana had started when she provided summaries of like a few of the events. So kind of using that same format, I'm trying to flush out the rest of the events. I may have called you to ask you for information about an event that I wasn't at, and I probably will continue to do that until, I get to the end of it, because some of the events I was not at and don't have like more detailed information on. So where I need to, I'll just call different commissioners that I know attended those events to kind of get some feedback from you that I can use in flushing the summaries out.
Marie,
Yes,
did you have the ones that Adrian did?
I do.
Okay, okay. And if we could have at some point, just have a conversation about the report in its entirety.
Yeah, that will need to happen fairly soon. So,
Well, more so right now is the community engagement piece. One report was written by a subcommittee member, but wrote it from like her perspective, but didn't name everybody, didn't name herself as having been present. Just said, this is who attended with me. But then if you're looking at it, well, I know who it was because I was there with them. So I recognized it, but she needed to put her name as part of the people that were present at the event. That's all I'm trying to say.
so I mean, for most of it, I think
You caught it.
I think I have a
Okay.
recollection or notes that indicate who attended those events. There's some events where there were like 2 or 3 commissioners that submitted something related to those events. So I've been like blending those into, into the summaries to have just one summary.
Okay.
So I mean, as we continue to edit, I mean, I think the biggest pieces that are being that probably are being worked on the most are community engagement, MMD roles and responsibilities in in our selection process. Pieces of the report that I feel are in pretty good shape, although there's editing that's still happening to like bring it all together into the same tense, into the same format, so it continues to flow in terms of the narrative and it's not like choppy. We have a decent introduction. We have a decent legal background, which includes discussion of the 2015 court decision. It includes a brief summary of the state legislation. And it includes information from local law 8 as it relates specifically to the work that the MMD was charged with doing. There's also a section on commissioners that includes the bio information. There's a section on MMD collaboration with ACRC in terms of the, you know, the collegial and cooperative relationship that we had with them and how that flowed in terms of progressing the work. There's a section on acquisition of consultants that talks about our process relative to acquiring Arkbridge and Jeffrey Weiss. There's a section that talks about the interns, how the interns supported us, who they were. There's a section that talks specifically about public hearings and gives an overview of the public hearings process, the things that we did in support of the public hearings, to promote it, to publicize it, so on and so forth. There's a section on mapping that Arkbridge initially drafted. I made some edits to and some additions to. Then there's community engagement that I'm working on right now. There's the section on the community survey, which basically only needs to be updated to include the finalized information that we're going to include when we go to submit the report. So that's just an addition of summarized information as to the findings from the responses. And then there's the lessons learned section that we're probably going to call something else. I considered where it made sense, pulling out anything we had there and adding it to the section that it related to. So I'm still kind of looking at that. Donna is sending me today some edits that she made to like different sections in the report that are at the beginning of the report. Once I get that, I'll put it together with the other pieces that I think are in fairly good shape and send it to everybody. So everybody can begin looking at it and can provide any comments or suggestions for improvement or additions that you have.
Marie, may I make a suggestion?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, could we just send out the pieces that you and I have both reviewed and then send that to everybody for review?
Okay, well, yeah, there's different parts of it that were previously, there's parts of it that I sent to everybody as I did them,
Right,
that
right.
everybody had the opportunity to look at. That's like,
I understand that, but like, I want to talk to you because I have some questions about some of the portions that have been submitted.
okay.
Okay, before I start working on those. So, if we could have a conversation today.
Okay, sure.
I just have some questions.
All right, so let's try to do it after this meeting.
That'll work. Okay.
And because whatever we send to them, it should be, I guess, the cleanest it can be at this point in time,
Right.
so as not to create any confusion.
Right.
Or to minimize any confusion or redundancies or having people look at things and then having to relook at them too many times, which would be a little wasteful. So I think that's the report stuff.
Marie, under this section of lessons learned, doing, as you remember at the ACRC meeting, they spent a whole lot of time discussing whether under that section we had the authority, or even if we should be making suggestions to changes of the law, or we should just be making suggestions about how the whole process played out. I'm not sure
Yeah,
how
there
it
was,
um,
there was an extensive discussion at the ACRC meeting about the lessons learned. There was strong feeling that we should not be making recommendations to the legislature about local law 8. Larry Volk, which everybody should have had the opportunity to see, something that Larry Volk put together that provided like some observations or some suggestions for commissions in the future doing this work. So as far as it relates to our stuff, it's probably gonna inform how we couch it. Whether we couch it as a recommendation to revise local law, whether we couch it as our observations or something for the legislature to consider. But I think as one of the first bodies involved in this work, the experience that we had in progressing it is relevant. And given the amount of time that they spent on putting this legislation together and the stake that a number of them have in this legislation, I believe that they would want feedback from us as well. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we are going to decide what's appropriately included in our report and what may not be. But I think, you know, our experience is relevant to this whole process. And I think it's going to be helpful to the legislatures in terms of how they consider the local law. And it's also going to be helpful to anybody that gets involved in this work in the future. And so I think if we think of what we're submitting from those two branches, then we can together and collectively reach a conclusion about the report that works. Does that make sense?
yeah, I just wanted to say that I agree with you. I think if we find somehow, I don't want to call it a flaw, but if we find something in the legislation that we think needs to be addressed, then I think we should. I don't think we should not do that only because they think that we should not be trying to, dictate or give some direction to the legislature about the law. I think we should do that if that's what we find.
Yeah, and it's not, we're not going to provide anything that's going to be a dictate or a directive. We're just going to provide information relative to our observations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think observations and or recommendations or both.
Right, so,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think in some respects, if we didn't do that, we would be doing a disservice to future subcommittees.
and really the information that we're putting in our report is probably gonna provide the most meat for like any future body, like working on this stuff, you know, just because of the different areas that we're covering in it. You know, they're gonna be able to start with like a much broader scope and understanding of the work than we did, for sure. Um, so I know ACRC is busy working on their putting together their final report. Um, I think they're a little ahead of us, just a tad bit, in that they've had a final draft that everybody's been looking at and making their comments on and stuff. Um, but I mean, I feel like we're in good shape, you know, and we're close to the finish line. Jeffrey, is there anything you would like to add?
I had to get on I was unmuted. No, I think you're covering everything. I've also been working on the ACRC report, so I'd be glad to take a look at the report that you're working on to add anything that needs just to be worked on or supplemented.
Okay. And I don't know if everybody saw, but Kashana had put the link to the Albany City redistricting in the
Yeah.
chat.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything outstanding relative to things that we need to discuss?
Before we move on, let me ask a question, Marie. I thought I saw where ACRC showed their final map, and I remember at their meeting, there was some discussion that if after we had the last public hearing, that if they felt the need to make some minor changes, they would make these changes. I don't think, did anybody see any changes to their final map, or did I
Yeah,
not?
I believe that they did make some
They
minor
did.
tweaks, and it
Okay.
should be on the webpage.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I looked at it and I said, well, I thought they had, but then I said, well, maybe I'm wrong, because I'm looking at these maps, so many of these maps now that I'm like, they're starting to run
Yeah, I don't,
together.
they didn't make any major changes,
Right.
but I know they did like tweak some stuff.
Okay. And those were based on whatever comments we got from the last public hearing?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, based on comments received. And I think also some input from Leif, I believe, relative to the Guilderland area.
Okay.
And so that is all I have. How does everybody feel, you know, relative to where we are, where we're headed?
I think we're headed in the right direction. I think just in the editing that I've done, I think I've gotten through a pretty thorny section, and I think some of the other sections will go faster. because I was basically looking at the write-up and the discussion of the court cases and just kind of cleaning up the language in the way that when you're speaking from a legal perspective and having reviewed a court decision, there's a certain way that that's done, but also making sure that, you know, things that were taken directly from the decision were quoted correctly and that kind of thing. So that was a little slower, but I think what we have going forward should hopefully go a lot faster in terms of editing.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense because I mean, also that section, you know, had the most in terms of conveying information that you were really just picking up from somewhere else and trying to put into some summary format.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
And in a way that somebody reading it can understand. Trying to make it as easy to understand as possible.
So I want to just take a look at the SharePoint.
Professor Wise, have you heard any rumblings about whether or not the governor is going to extend the video conferencing portion of the meeting flow?
We never find out until the day the current extension expires. The last time it happened, rather than announce it at the end of the day, the governor announced it at the beginning of the day. So I think it's August 14th. Well, I'll be checking throughout the day.
Now that's tomorrow. So
tomorrow.
We just got an email on it.
Yeah.
Someone just sent an email in the redistricting about it. I want to say I just read it.
Tom.
Oh, Tom just sent one.
It is extended through September 12th.
September, yeah. I'm traveling, so I didn't get a chance to catch it.
Okay, I was going to say because a Sunday, you don't hear, you only hear something like that on a Sunday.
So that's good. So I just wanted to take a look at the outline to see if relative to the outline we had drafted, if we were missing any sections at this point, and I don't think we are.
Okay.
Then being that you just mentioned SharePoint, do you need anyone to go into like organize? I know that we're supposed to be dropping, like if you have any documents in personal, moving it over to SharePoint. I moved like everything I had because I need to clean up my OneDrive. But I needed some space. But did you want that organized? I don't know if when I go in there, sometimes I'm like, oh, there's a lot of things in here in different folders. Like, is there?
Yeah, I mean, it could be better organized. The other thing is there's a lot of documents that we finalized that are not on the SharePoint. Like I think about all of the flyers that we used, that we emailed to like community contacts, that we mailed out. Like like those final flyers all need to be on the SharePoint. And so, and there's other stuff, you know, that we developed in terms of like initial plans, like there was an initial project plan, there was like,
Mhm.
you know, other plans that we developed, there were like other documents that we developed. And so we need to pull all of that stuff together and make sure that we identify the final versions of it to put onto the SharePoint. Because I mean, in the report, there's like some attachments that we're gonna need to include. And so I think that's gonna be like, you know, another key part of it, pulling together all of those documents. Like all the presentations that ArcBridge did and all the maps, the different informational charts that they gave to us. Like whatever was part of our process needs to be there. So yeah, anything that we could do in that regards. In Nasim, you can really help with pulling together like the flyer stuff, because almost all the flyers you sent out to like all the community contacts, the libraries, the neighborhood associations, da 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 da. So if you can pull together those flyers that you had, that would probably be a good start.
Got it. Will do. I'll work on that. later
And
today.
I was on that looking for all of our meeting meeting minutes. And there's a number of them that are not on there.
Yeah, I made a note of them. There were like some situations where the minutes wasn't there, and there are some situations where there's no agenda there.
Could Nasim help with that as well?
Yeah, I can help with that for sure.
Okay.
I'll put it on SharePoint. Sorry about that. Just let me know which ones are missing.
I mean,
If they're
I
just
don't know
recent
that
ones, I got that.
I don't know if it's anything that you didn't do. I know there were a couple of times where the meeting notice didn't go out.
Okay.
I think if you look at, if you had a list of our meeting dates, which for the most part has been every Saturday, I think with the exception of July 16th. And you can, pretty much pull together from that what needs to be added.
Got it.
So,
Yeah, I'll look through and make sure I get everything.
yeah, I don't know. I must be losing it because I looked at that list and I made a listing of the dates where there either was no agenda.
Was that the list that we had to send over, like, and upload? Because now those are uploaded. Was it the same list that we were missing from the website?
Yeah, it's how they show on the webpage. If you look at it, you'll see places where there's like a blank.
Okay.
Oh,
'Cause the
okay. So
ones that
I'll
were-
go on the
okay.
website. I'll go on the website and check what's missing or not.
So
I didn't check that out.
So I just found it. I think it's January 8th and the 19th.
We sent those though. If that's what I was gonna say. Is it the list that you sent like maybe was that last week or 2 weeks ago? And then I sent everything to, was it Jennifer Cross that had to?
Yeah, I think the stuff that you sent to her, I thought it did get updated. So anyway, the dates that I wrote were January 8th and the 19th, February 5th, 12th, 19th, and 26th. And
That
those
was that on SharePoint?
They're on there now. And those are the same
Yes.
dates that were sent to Jennifer Cross.
Yes, I think the earlier minutes are on SharePoint. When I was on there the other day, I don't think there was anything I'd say almost from March going forward, maybe late March, but nothing from April going forward was on there. And we know we have minutes.
no, that was all there.
On SharePoint,
Not,
in our folder?
oh, I'm talking about on the webpage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the
We're talking
folder
about two
stops
different
at
things.
May.
Yeah, we need to make sure everything is in SharePoint.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, SharePoint.
Got it. I'll look later today and we'll upload everything that I can find basically from every week.
So Donna, you might have to do the SharePoint stuff because you will have the final document. Like there's some times where we had revisions.
But I usually I would send out the revised, but I can double check that, but I did send out the revised minutes to everyone.
So I'm looking at the web page right now. So April 23rd. There's no agenda there. And January 29th, there's no agenda there. And that might be, it could be right, because I know that there was at least, well, wait a minute, there's some other dates, so. June 25th. And then for minutes, it's January 15th and March 5th. And April 2nd. So
Is that it for SharePoint, or are there still more?
oh, this is not SharePoint. This is what's on the web page
Oh, okay.
or what's not there. July 16th is not there, but we didn't have a meeting that day because we canceled it. So that makes sense. But so yeah, Nasim, if you can look at that.
Will do, and send it over to Jennifer Cross.
Well, send it to us first,
Okay.
so we could just be sure before we send it to her.
Sounds good. Gotcha.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else? I mean, if not, we can adjourn.
No, I would just say, Nasim, it would probably be easier if you just search for emails from me
Got it. We'll do that
and
today.
use minutes and in the search, and they should come up.
Got it.
you know, and if you have any
If-
questions about anything,
I'll reach out for sure.
okay,
Yeah,
great.
then the flyers and everything. It would be in your email, so it would just be those emails where I was sending you the flyer to send out.
Okay.
Okay, if there is nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
I'll second.
Okay, if there's no further discussion or comment, the meeting is adjourned
But
at
we have to vote. We have to
oh,
vote on the motion to adjourn.
so if there is no more comment and discussion, all in favor?
I.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so the meeting is adjourned.
All right, everybody.